Wonderful. Madam Clerk, are you ready? Great. Transportation and Commerce Committee meeting will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Present.
We will need to see your face, Alderwoman.
Let me get through. Okay, hold on just a second, please.
I'll move on to the next. Alderman Narayan.
Here.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Browning.
Present.
Chair Cone.
Present.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Okay, I don't know why I am unable to show my video. I'm in the. Oh, because it still has me as an attendee.
I just tried to promote you and it's saying you declined.
I don't.
Oh, here we go.
Thank you.
So
Present.
Alderwoman Spencer,
Present.
we have 4 present. We have quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for your patience as we work through this morning. I very much appreciate that. We have a couple things on the agenda. Well, first things first, let's get to the approval of the minutes. We've got minutes from Tuesday, November 26, 2024. I'll entertain a motion on the meeting minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
It's been moved by the alderman from the 4th, seconded by the alderman from the 9th, that we approve the meeting minutes from Tuesday, November 26, 2024. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Browning.
Aye.
Chair Cone.
Abstain.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. We have 3 aye votes and 1 abstain.
Wonderful. Madam Clerk, I would just like to make note that I understand, even though I was not at the meeting last week, that there were some technical difficulties. And so I did clear with the legal counsel of the board that everything was properly noticed and that the bills that were heard last week were okay to be passed and move on in the legislative process. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I got a couple questions about it after last week's meeting. So if you could please make note of that, I would appreciate it.
Noted.
Board bills for review. We've got 1 board bill on the agenda today. That is board bill number 128, sponsored by Alderman Narayan. Alderman Narayan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman Cone, members of the committee. Board bill number 128 is a bill regarding the city's living wage law. This law applies to workers who are employed by a contractor doing business within the city on certain projects that are receiving financial incentives. There is an amendment that I would like to put before the committee. It's amendment number 1 in the drive. The amendment simply lays out a clean definition of an intern, what it is to be an intern. So at this time, with your permission, Chairman, I would move that we adopt Amendment 1 to Board Bill 128.
So I'll entertain a motion to put Amendment 1 before the committee.
Oh, okay, sure. Then I would move that we put Amendment number 1 to Board Bill number 128 before the committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by the Alderman from the 4th, seconded by the Alderman from the 9th, that we put amendment number 1 to Board Bill number 128 before the committee. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye. I don't know.
We can't see you, Alderwoman.
I understand that the video option is not available to me. Can STL TV make my video? Here we go. My apologies. Aye.
Alderman Orion.
Aye.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Browning.
Aye.
Chair Cone.
Aye.
We have 4 aye votes.
Thank you. With that vote, you sustain the motion to put amendment number 1 to Board Bill 128 before the committee. Alderman, you may proceed on amendment number 1. You're muted, Alderman.
Thank you. Amendment number 1 is very straightforward. We added so the provisions of 128 do not apply to interns, but we didn't have a solid definition of exactly what an intern was, and we wanted to make sure that individuals were not misclassified as interns in order for people to get around the wage laws. So we defined an intern as an intern shall only be construed to mean someone who is part of a planned, structured learning experience that provides significant educational benefits and takes place in a workplace for a limited period of time, and whose duties and responsibilities significantly complement rather than displace the work of regular employees. That is the entirety of Amendment 1. I'd be happy to take any questions that anyone has regarding the amendment.
Okay, thank you, Alderman. Questions from the committee? Vice Chair Spencer.
I have none. Thank you.
Alderman Narayan, I presume Alderman Narayan doesn't have questions about his own amendment. Alderman Browning.
Yes, thank you. Alderman Narayan, does this mean that interns are not required to be paid?
So yes, basically this allows for unpaid internships. What we wanted to avoid, though, was people being classified as interns when they were essentially employees for the sake of people getting around the wage law. We wanted for, say, for educational opportunities in schools. Sometimes people have an internship, and those internships don't necessarily pay, and that's one thing. But we don't want people classified as interns who are substantially doing the work of an employee.
I understand the intention. Why shouldn't interns be paid?
I agree with you there. That's part of the push and pull on the prevailing wage bill overall, I think, and I would certainly fall in your camp on that. That's just not where the language on the underlying bill previously had landed.
Gotcha there. So I guess you're saying there would have to be a future bill to make sure that interns are paid, because my concern here is this. I just want to map it out for people that an intern is paying for their educational experience. So the credit is not the academic credit is not their payment. It is simply in exchange for what they've already paid for the class. And then they do work on top of that for the internship that they do not get paid for. So it is unpaid labor, which I'm against. I think people should be paid for their work. But I understand you're clarifying something here. I would welcome a bill in the future to make sure that interns are paid, because I think that is something that we should walk the walk on. Thank you.
Absolutely. No, and I certainly agree with you on that underlying issue. that was a part of the conversation. I want to say back in 2019, 2020, when then Alderwoman Martin was working on this bill, and there was substantial conversation regarding that. Any further questions? All right. Well, with that, then, with the chair's permission, I would move that we adopt amendment number to Board Bill number 128.
Thank you, Alderman, but I am the chair and I have some questions myself. So
Sure. I apologize.
I thought you were inquiring of the Alderman from the 9th if he had any further questions. So I appreciate that. I do want to just ask, do you have specific examples where this has been a problem that you can share with us?
So I believe that there are members of the service industry workers in the room who will be able to tell you with more specificity examples of where this has been an issue. I know from talking to the president's office and from hearing from other individuals that there's an issue here with the misclassifications, but I think that they'd be able to share more specifics than I could, certainly.
Okay, thank you. Are you all here to talk about the amendment, or are you here to talk about the board bill? The board bill. Okay, so that's why I was asking you, Alderman. They're here to speak on the board bill, not the amendment, and we're currently discussing the amendment. So, okay, if you would, and yes, do you affirm to tell the truth? I do. Great. Can you just say your name and affiliation?
Great, yeah. Good morning, everyone. My name is Carl Walter. I'm the external coordinator for SEIU Local 1, and I'm a resident of 7.
Wonderful.
Great. So SEIU Local 1 currently represents 140 janitors at Lambert International Airport, members of our union. We're also, as a local, represent 9,000 security officers throughout the Midwest. And in St. Louis, we do not currently represent security officers, but we're in the process of beginning to organize. Some of the largest companies in the country are here: Garda World, Allied Universal, Securitas. Garda World currently has the contract for contracted security at Lambert, and so I started performing outreach to those officers in July. And what I uncovered was that Garda World is basically running a bait and switch operation. They're recruiting new hires by telling them, hey, you're going to earn $21 at the airport working security. But when they bring them out to the airport, they don't tell them this, by the way. No one knows this is what's going to occur. But they're classifying new hires as trainees. And so I have pay stubs that I've collected from, say, a half dozen different workers. I pass those pay stubs on to the board president and to the comptroller to make them aware. But I've seen new hires being paid wages, hourly wages, anywhere from $12 to $14 an hour with no health care benefit. So Garda World basically created this off-scale, right, like wage sort of, training program. And the thing of it is that, I mean, it's not in compliance with the living wage ordinance, but it's worse than that, because when I actually talked to an officer that picked up his first pay stub, like the very day he picked it up, he was so angry. Out of 40 hours, 32 hours were paid, and this is his first check, 32 hours were paid at like $14 and no additional health care benefit. And the turnover is so high at the airport because the working conditions are horrible. Officers don't get access to breaks, right? Wage and hour law in Missouri is that you don't get a break if the company doesn't want to give you one. These officers at most are given 2 15-minute breaks at most. And they work, a lot of them, outside all long. In the summer, in the heat, in the winter, in the cold, they have to get there an hour before their shift, and they leave later than their shift ends because they have to catch a shuttle They're not allowed to park at the terminals. They have to catch a shuttle to the remote areas. It's very difficult. So turnover is extremely high. So they're always running this bait and switch con, where again, they're not paying 21 an hour. So they're cheating the officers there. But then in addition, they're not paying that healthcare benefit, right? On any hours that are attributed to training. So I think the, defining intern is attempting to make sure that people don't, again, like Alderman Narayan said, apply that label to employees, right, who should be paid the living wage. And I also agree that interns should be paid. I think the intent of the amendment is not to withhold pay from them, but just to make sure that interns are classified in such a way as that they don't earn the living wage of 21 an hour. They could still be paid, but you're not going to get the living wage. That's still open. But yeah, I mean, Garter World just made up this classification of trainee, and I mean, completely made it up. Anywhere else, it would be called wage theft. But we don't have those laws in Missouri, unfortunately. So I just want to take a moment to applaud you, the aldermen here, Narayan, the chair, Cone, all of the alders who are supporting this amendment. It makes me proud as a resident of the city of St. Louis to see this body standing up for working people, because most of our elected officials don't do that in this whole state of Missouri. So yet this amendment and the bill itself will protect workers out at the airport and in other city accounts from companies, contractors that want to exploit them. And wage theft is a huge problem in the security industry. Just to lay context, I don't want to pick on Garter World too much. It's a problem everywhere. But yeah, that's as much as I can share.
Great, thank you. Appreciate the additional context. The alderman from the 9th, you have a question?
Not a question, just want to thank you for your testimony and ask to be added as a co-sponsor to Board Bill 128.
Noted.
Alderman, are there any other questions from members of the committee that are online or comments? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on amendment number 1 to Board Bill 128.
I move that we adopt amendment number 1 to Board Bill number 128.
Second.
It's been moved by the alderman from the 4th, seconded by the alderman from the 9th, that we adopt amendment 1 to Board Bill 128.
Previous roll.
There's been a request for previous roll. Is there any objection to previous roll? Hearing no objection, amendment number 1 passes. We are now discussing Board Bill 128 as amended. Alderman, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. So now when we're looking at Board Bill number 128 as amended, again, I think we've essentially done the heavy lifting with the amendment, because really as the testimony laid out, the biggest issue that this is trying to address is the misclassification of people as trainees or interns who do not necessarily make the living wage under the existing ordinance, but who are doing the work of a full-time employee rather than that of truly an intern, someone who's going to try and learn something as part of an educational experience or on-the-job learning. I think the most important part of the bill is, if you look down at the second page, the wage and benefit requirements of this chapter apply to those employees and specified under parts number 1 and 2 of this section for the entirety of their employment, including during any necessary training period. And so that, along with the change in definition of intern, hopefully closes the loophole that we've seen some entities utilize in order to underpay people and to skirt the living wage laws that I think we all support. And so I would request the committee's favorable consideration.
Okay, we're going to take questions from the committee on Board Bill number 128 as amended. If there are any, please raise your hand. I'm not seeing any. We do have several people here who are available to testify. I believe it looks like all of them might be in favor of it. Madam Clerk, are there folks who have registered to testify this morning?
He already has, Mr. Carl Walters.
Does anyone else wish to testify? No. Seeing no additional testimony or folks that would like to provide comment, I will entertain a motion on Board Bill number 128 as amended.
I move that we pass Board Bill 128 with the do pass recommendation
As amended.
as amended. As amended.
Second, previous roll.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 9th, seconded by the Alderman from the 4th. We kind of switched that up a little bit. That we pass Board Bill number 128 as amended with the do pass recommendation. And there's been a request for previous roll. Is there any objection to previous roll? Hearing no objection, Board Bill number 128 as amended passes out of the TNC committee. It'll now go before the full board for consideration. Madam Clerk, if you could also add me as a co-sponsor to 128 as amended, I would appreciate it.
So noted.
Thank you all.
With that, it looks like we have concluded our order of business for today's meeting. We will have some bills related to the MOA for Southwest Airlines coming before the committee. The airport director and I are having conversations currently around the timing of those. As a heads up for members of the committee, I will likely need to suspend the rules at some point in time for those bills, but I did submit them for introduction this coming Friday, but I'll be in touch with you all regarding those as well as I get more input from the airport director and other staff related to them. I know we had the Alderwoman from the 1st Ward asked to be excused today for necessary absence. Mr. Clerk. Mr. Clerk. I'm sorry, can this wait for just one moment? I was just about to ask for the Alderwoman from the 1st to be excused for necessary absence. She is in Jefferson City.
Noted.
Thank you. Appreciate that. With that, I have no further business. Is there any other announcements or business by members of the committee? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned. Thank you.